Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the most fascinating matches in modern football history. Picture this, a glittering night at the iconic Maracanã Stadium in Rio. Germany secures their fourth World Cup title by beating Argentina 1-0. But we aren't just here to look at that final score. We're going to really decode why Germany won. We're peeling back the layers of strategy, looking at those razor-thin margins of error, and breaking down the absolute tactical masterclasses that defined this historic clash. Okay, let's dive into this. The ultimate question surrounding this whole final was this: how did a German collective, this relentless machine built on what we'll call organized chaos, manage to neutralize the individual brilliance of Lionel Messi? It's a fascinating case study. You've got team dynamics going up against supernatural individual talent. And the answer? Well, it lies deep within the tactical blueprints drawn up by both sides. Section 1, Best Player versus Best Team. Now, this was the central narrative dominating all the headlines before kickoff, right? The match was heavily billed as a 1-on-11 showdown. On one side, you've got the supernatural Lionel Messi, the guy who eventually won the Golden Ball for the tournament's best player, basically representing the ultimate individual threat. And on the other, the collective freight train of Germany, totally renowned for their balanced approach and tactical flexibility. But as our sources point out, that narrative wasn't actually entirely accurate. Thanks to a monumental, just imperial performance by Javier Mascherano in Argentina's defensive midfield, the game was really more like a 2-on-11. Mascherano single-handedly linked Argentina's defense and attack, making sure Germany didn't just steamroll right through the center of the pitch. Section 2, Tactics and Organized Chaos. Let's look under the hood at the tactical engine that actually drove this German team. Coach Joachim Löw implemented a system that analysts called organized chaos. Basically, this was a highly fluid formation that allowed Löw to pack the pitch with just as many diminutive, creative attacking midfielders as he possibly dared, alongside these incredibly dynamic fullbacks. And what's totally wild here is that they embarked on winning the biggest international tournament in the world, playing significant amounts of football completely strikerless. They relied on just one recognized traditional forward in their entire squad, and that was 34-year-old Miroslav Klose.
And this brilliantly illustrates why Germany was so unstoppable. I mean, they didn't just have a plan A. While they definitely dominated possession stats throughout the tournament, they were incredibly multidimensional. They pressed super high up the pitch with a high defensive line. But when they needed to, they were perfectly happy to just play direct football, completely bypassing the midfield to hit their front players. They were lethal on counterattacks and executed set plays with ruthless efficiency. Honestly, they kept Argentina constantly guessing, simply because they could hurt you in 5 different ways.
Now, interestingly, for all the talk of attacking brilliance, the real unsung heroes of this match were the defensive stalwarts. If we look at the CBS Sports player ratings, Germany's Jerome Boateng earned an 8 out of 10 and man of the match honors. Why? Because he was out there putting out innumerable fires and winning crucial one-on-one tackles against the likes of Messi and Gonzalo Higuaín. And matching him with an 8 out of 10 was Argentina's Javier Mascherano. He shrugged off a semifinal injury to deliver the stunning, match-long string of accurate passes and broken up German attacks. Really, these two players are the massive reason the game stayed scoreless through regulation time. Section 3, a game of missed chances. Because look, despite those defensive masterclasses we just talked about, this final was truly defined by razor-thin margins that almost completely changed the course of history. Let's walk through this timeline of just excruciating near misses. In the 21st minute, Argentina's Gonzalo Higuaín finds himself completely one-on-one with German goalkeeper Manuel Neuer, but he drags his golden opportunity wide. Fast forward to just before halftime, and Germany's Benedikt Höwedes smashes a point-blank header directly into the goalpost. And then, shortly after the halftime break in the 47th minute, Lionel Messi finds himself on the left side of the penalty area. He hits this low shot across the goal that goes agonizingly, and I mean agonizingly wide of the far post. So the absolutely crucial point here is this. The margin between victory and heartbreak was literally inches. If Messi's second-half shot had trickled just 6 inches to the right, inside the post, the entire narrative shifts. Argentina likely lifts the trophy, and Messi immediately cements his undisputed place right alongside Pelé and Maradona as a World Cup winner right then and there. It really just shows you how incredibly delicate the balance of a World Cup final is.
Section 4, the masterstroke substitutions.
So as the game dragged on, the physical toll of these tactical setups really began to show, and that paved the way for the managers to make their mark. To understand why substitutions were so vital here, you have to look at the data. Throughout the tournament, a staggering 70% of Germany's goals came from regaining the ball in their opponent's defensive third. That kind of high-pressing strategy, It is incredibly taxing on the legs. Playing football without the ball and pressing that high requires just immense stamina. By the time extra time rolled around, Germany's exhausting tactics had set the absolute perfect stage to introduce fresh, dynamic players against a really tired Argentina defense. Enter Mario Götze. The 22-year-old forward had actually started the tournament in the starting 11, but kind of lost his place, barely featuring at all in the knockout rounds. But in the 88th minute, Joachim summons him from the bench to replace Miroslav Klose, the World Cup's all-time leading scorer. And right before sending him onto the pitch, Löw pulls Gotze aside and delivers this absolutely legendary piece of motivation. He looks at him and says, "Show the world you're better than Messi." Section 5, the 113th minute. We've reached the climax of the tournament, deep into the second half of extra time. Let's move to Klo and see how this builds into the decisive moment of the final, which was crafted entirely by two substitutes. Andre Schürrle, another player brought off the bench, makes these brilliant inroads down the left flank, literally racing past two exhausted Argentine defenders. He lofts a neat cross toward the near post. Meanwhile, Gotze slips completely undetected into the penalty area. In a moment of pure intuitive genius, he perfectly controls the ball on his chest, granting himself just a split second of time and space, and then stabs a left-footed volley straight into the back of the net. Honestly, it was a goal Messi himself would have been proud to call his own. And there it is, 1-0. With that singular stroke of brilliance from a substitute, Germany claimed their fourth World Cup title. And in doing so, they also etched their names into the history books by becoming the very first European nation to ever win a World Cup hosted on South American soil. It was the ultimate triumph of the collective over the individual, but ironically decided by a moment of sheer individual magic.
Which brings us to our final thought. Looking at how Germany adapted their plan A, B, C, and D to overcome the world's greatest player, we have to ask, in modern football, has tactical flexibility and the deployment of organized chaos become more vital than simply dominating possession or relying on individual brilliance? It's a pretty compelling question to carry with you the next time you sit down to watch a major final. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.